Let's talk about the woke vegan feminist debate that happened at Oxford University recently between someone called Carol Adams and Michaela Peterson. Now, just to be clear, I'm sure everyone knows who Michaela Peterson is, but if you don't, she's the daughter of Jordan Peterson. She's got like a degree or several degrees of her own. She's highly educated. And she is also a carnivore activist, as in she eats an exclusively meat diet because she had autoimmune disorders that were being exacerbated, she believed, by her diet. And so eating meat has cured her of this. And she got pregnant and dropped out. Okay, thanks, John. But she is now an advocate for the carnivore diet. I'm not on the carnivore diet. I can't speak to it either way. But her opponent was a one Carol Adams. And so the question is, well, who is Carol Adams? So I went to her website and looked at her bio. Carol Adams is a feminist vegan advocate, activist, and independent scholar, and the author of numerous books, including her path-breaking The Sexual Politics of Meat, a feminist vegetarian critical theory.
Could you imagine being sat next to her at dinner party and you know who she is? You just be like, oh, can I just cancel?
I'll take the steak, please. I can't imagine not wanting to sit
rubbing
next
grease
to her.
on yourself.
Oh, yeah. Look how bloody this is, Carol. It tastes like death. But anyway, so let's have a quick look at her book, what she says. So this is The Sexual Politics of Meat. I haven't read it, of course. I've only just heard of this one, really. I might get this book, though, because it sounds great. The Sexual Politics of Meat, the feminist vegan critical theory, explores the relationship between patriarchal values and meat eating by interweaving insights of feminism, vegetarianism, animal defense, and literary theory. The New York Times calls it a Bible of the vegan community. And it's in its 30th anniversary now. So remember, these people have been doing this for a long time. This has been their long march. The Sexual Politics of Meat explains the concept of the absent referent, as in behind every meal of meat is an absence, the death of the animal whose place the meat takes. It would be pretty cruel if we just took the meat without killing the animal. God, slicing off a few rashers of bacon.
Oh, you can do that with crabs, I think it is.
Oh, I'm sure you can.
Take one arm and throw it back in.
That sounds awful. Right. They do that with sharks, actually. They take the fin and they just throw it back in. Don't they, John? The absent referent functions to cloak the violence inherent to meat eating, to protect the conscience of the meat eater and render the idea of the individual animals as immaterial to anyone's selfish desires. No, we kill and eat animals. That's fine. I'm okay with that. The Sexual Politics of Meat argues that male dominance and animals' oppression are linked by way that both women and animals function as absent referents in meat eating and dairy production.
Women are cows.
Time to milk your wife, Callum.
Men milk their cows, therefore milk their women. The hell is she talking about?
She's arguing, in fact, that feminist theory logically contains a vegan critique, which is enough to put me off feminism. Just as veganism covertly challenges patriarchal society. Patriarchy is a gender system that is implicit in human/animal relationships. That's right. The patriarchy is oppressing your dog.
But also as much as your wife.
If not more so.
Your dog is equal to your wife in this world.
Where she has arrived at the point where men, women and animals. Sorry, no, men, women and animals. I mean, I'm not the one who wrote it. You know,
How feminist of you.
Yeah.
Women are animals.
I'm
so to be worthy as much as
I'm
oxes.
so progressive and forward thinking that I put women above animals. But below men. No. But right, so let's get into how she became a vegan feminist. So she's got this video on her site, but we're not going to worry about the clips from this. But she basically says, well, look, I went to university, joined a bunch of radical feminists in the 70s while the doctrine of radical feminism was being formulated, and she came home. Someone accidentally shot her horse. She owned a horse. And now she can't eat burgers. That's literally it. She, like, there was a tragic hunting
Does she know where burgers come from?
Yeah, she was like, I'm eating a cow. It's like, yeah, but it's not a horse. And even then, like, you didn't eat your horse.
Tesco's lasagnas?
I don't know. But, like, there's no connection there. She's like, there was a hunting accident. Someone shot my horse. Then I had a burger. I bit into it and thinking, I'm eating dead cow. Well, yeah, what do you think it was made out of? You know? And hey, let me stop you there. It's not just a dead cow. Many dead cows. So it's all ground up. It's not just going to be one cow. But then she decided that meat eating was patriarchy, and therefore this wonderful vegan.
Okay, wait, no, I can make sense of this now. Right, she had a mental breakdown.
Yes,
and while she was eating the burger, she became a feminist.
Yes, well, she was also studying all this proto-intersectional feminist theory at the time, and she even describes it like a magical awakening, like a religious experience, and she literally uses the words "flowed through her body" and lifted her up into this understanding of systems and structures, and then saying, okay, so you saw God, and
so joined a cult,
and now you're like one of the early Christians who's literally, sworn off eating literally anything that was ever living. So she eats dirt. And anyway, so we arrive.
Vegans eat, I don't know.
Whatever vegans eat, I don't know. But I mean, they say, the animals feel pain. Yeah, well, plants feel pain. You can tell what a healthy plant is and an unhealthy plant is. If plants feel pain, then why are they not in your constituency of things that you show empathy and compassion to? And if they are, then what the hell are you going to eat? But anyway, leaving veganism aside, let's get into the first debate clip, because she just lays out, right, how radical do you think this could be, right? I mean, she's pretty radical, but you think she'd like hide her power levels somewhat? Maybe try and...
Or just give stock vegan arguments about veganism?
Maybe bring the audience, like groom them into like her worldview? Or does she go full balls to the wall? Let's watch.
What we choose to eat has consequences far beyond the circumference of our plates. Specifically, your vote tonight expresses your allegiance to or rejection of a white supremacist patriarchal worldview. Do we vote to further inequality and sustain world-destroying violence?
See Jordan Peterson down in the bottom corner there, just shaking his head.
That's the opening gambit.
Yeah, that's the opening gambit. Do we vote to support the white supremacist patriarchal worldview of inequality?
If you vote for my opposition, you're voting for white supremacy because you eat meat.
Yes, and you're not equals. I vote inequality. Anyway.
Me too.
Jordan Peterson's just
this guy on the left as well, you can see, he's just like, this is going to be fun.
Well, it's not just him. Watch the girl in the middle as well, because a lot of the time she's like smirking, because she's making notes and she's got a tabulator or whatever. She's smirking, and you can see everyone's just like, what is this crazy person? But this is a form of colonialism, you see. Let's play the next clip.
21st century animal eating requires our complicity in a new colonialism. We know how settler colonialism worked, an erase and replace system that forced indigenous people off the land, replacing them with cattle and white settlers.
Try not to laugh.
Yeah. I recognize today as Indigenous Peoples Day.
What was she bliffering about?
Indigenous Peoples Day? New colonialism?
How is eating meat new colonialism?
I don't really know. Well, because in fact she'll explain to it in a minute. But I love that this American has come to England and been like, if Indigenous people say we are the indigenous people.
Who else is indigenous to Oxford?
Yeah, exactly. Sorry,
the Indians. I know.
I'm living in Swindon near Cricklade. All of these Anglo-Saxon words. Where do you think you are? She's acting like she's in America. Like the America is just the paradigm for the entire world, which ironically is a form of settler colonialism. So, just mind your words, I guess. But anyway.
Actually, if new colonialism here would be her.
Yes.
As the colonizer turning up to a land.
Yeah.
And
with her ideology, which is what she's saying that the English did when they went to the Americas, and demanding that the locals change for her tastes. It's very colonial. Anyway, let's talk about the English paradigm that she hates so much.
One of the defining aspects of the colonial legacy is an ongoing white supremacist belief system and an ownership paradigm.
I love that guy.
When you own the land, you get the title to it. Entitlement and ownership are linked.
Right. So that was brilliant. So Calvin Robinson had literally heard 5 minutes, not even 5 minutes of this, just gets out, storms out. This is bull, right? Absolute
I got
bull.
places to be.
Yeah, just literally, I've got something else to do with my time, right? But the thing she's complaining about, when she says the white supremacy regime of like property right and ownership, what she's saying is English common law, which is how property rights and ownership are preserved. And these are good things. And she's calling that colonialism in the heart of English academia. It's like, no, this is not colonial, this is indigenous to this country.
You're the colonial.
You're the colonial. You're the one with the new ideas.
You're the one from the colonies.
Yeah, exactly. Go away, you know. You're cringe, and everyone looks like the guy in the back, just like, oh. And
he's even on their benches.
I know. And he must just be well, I mean, I don't know if it's split like teams or anything.
Yeah, well, that's how it usually is.
Well, no, Jordan Peterson's on that side as well.
Okay.
So I don't know if it is.
Well, the front bench is meant to be, is all I mean.
But we've talked about this at length in one of the premium podcasts that we've done, which is when Tucker Carlson basically got in trouble for saying, well, this is an English country. We can get the thing up, John. You can see the premium video we did about this on the website. So it's called Tucker Carlson's Anglo-Saxon Political Traditions, because that's what she's referring to. When she says white supremacy, she means the English heritage of the United States. It's like, well, yeah, you speak English, you've got common law.
Yeah, down south it's Spanish.
Yeah.
A little bit further south, you end up with a bit of French, and then Spanish again, and then Portuguese.
What do you want?
None of them are the Anglo-Saxons.
No, exactly. They're not just white. You know, white doesn't encapsulate any of the things we're talking about here. But anyway, so let's talk about feeding up the animals.
The quantity of nutritious vegetable matter consumed in fattening the carcass of an ox would afford 10 times the sustenance if gathered immediately from the bosom of the earth. 200 years after Shelley, as we've heard, 1/3 of the landmass of the world is committed to animal agriculture.
That's not true, by the way. It's not 1/3 of the landmass that's being used for agriculture at all.
I don't think that's even possible.
No, but even if it was, so what? Why is that bad? It's only bad if you're an insane vegan feminist and you're like, we shouldn't use animals. I don't think that's bad at all. No. There's nothing wrong with that.
How dare you use the Sahara Desert to grow food? Like, if we could, then what would be the problem?
Do it, you know. But the point is, she's complaining really that we're like, well, we can gain our protein from vegetables. It's like, I'm not sure you can actually. Not in the, there are specific vegetables that do have protein, but it is also qualitatively different. And you can see, I mean, like just people like this. I posted this on my Instagram. So it's just a meme that was going around, but I have 8 years experience of not eating any animal products. Yeah, I can tell. Look at you. Look at you.
I don't know how true this is, but I know there were a lot of memes about vegan gains. You remember him?
Oh, yeah.
There's a YouTuber who was always just like, yes, look, I'm buff and vegan. Yeah. How can that be? And everyone was just like, yeah, but come on. And
steroids?
It's there were a lot of accusations and weird things. I had no idea what the truth was in the end. It's just I know he became a meme for it.
Right, okay.
So.
But the thing is it's obvious that there is a difference in quality here. I'm not going to go into it now because it's just going to be a long discussion. But anyway, that's not the fun part of this either. Let's go to the next one.
If you eat animals, you take up more climate space, requiring more water, more land, more forest deforestation, contributing more greenhouse gases. This is felt disproportionately by countries in the global south. Their carbon footprint is smaller, but they experience more frequent and intense climate change-caused weather events. These events especially affect girls and young women. Your hamburger comes with a dose of misogyny.
International climate misogyny. This is exactly. That's what makes my burger so sweet. Knowing that I'm oppressing some girl in Indonesia.
There was people watching this with some chicken wings. They're just like, yeah, this just got better.
But like what she's accusing us of is like a sort of very international systemic version of manspreading. Like we're taking up all this room and that's oppressing some poor girls in South Africa or something. And it's like,
could you please have fewer cows?
Yeah, exactly. But you just keep eating all the burgers. Yeah, I know they're laced with misogyny. And so that was basically my response to this.
Like Chad.
Yes, I absolutely am, and I will continue to do so. But the question is, well, are meat eaters healthier? You know, I mean, look at her. She looks like a bastion of health, doesn't she?
Through colonial power, the diet of beef-loving English people became normative. The food heritage of pre-conquest peoples, like the land itself, was overrun. It was the colonizers, especially the British, who declared that the virility of meat-eating nations explained their success over the supposed feminine and weak rice-eating countries they defeated.
Feminine, weak, rice-eating countries BTFO'd, man. Largest empire in history. Come on, are we wrong?
I mean, she's not... Yeah, okay. Even if you follow her argument, she's not even disproving her own point. She's proving her own point. She's disproving it. But there's such muddling of history there, where she's like, the English settlers who turned up to the conquered people Right, so we're talking about the American Indians and the British who turned up and with 13 colonies. So the American Indians never ate meat. No, they did. So that
We'll get to that in a second.
But it's just like, okay, so the English set farming and therefore want to eat more meat. And then the rice-eating nations we're talking about China.
Yeah, talking about the East.
Who never ate meat, ever.
Not very much, actually. And this is something that the
They
Mongols...
would never eat anything to do with meat. They're very picky about their food, the Chinese.
No. This is something the Mongols noticed as well, right? And so this is a quote from Jack Weatherford's Genghis Khan and the Making of the Modern World. He says, the Chinese noted with surprise and disgust the ability of Mongol warriors to survive on little food and water for long periods. According to one, the entire army could camp without a single puff of smoke since they needed no fires to cook. Compared with the Jurched soldiers, the Mongols were much healthier and stronger. The Mongols consumed a steady diet of milk, meat, and yogurt and other dairy products, and they fought men who lived on gruel made from various grains. The grain diet of the peasant warriors stunted their bones, rotted their teeth, and left them weak and prone to disease. In contrast, the poorest Mongol soldier ate mostly protein, thereby giving him strong teeth and bones. This was something that the
English were completely right.
Yes. No, that's absolutely true. And the reason that the Dutch are the tallest people on earth is because they eat a huge amount of beef and cheese. Not even joking. Right?
I got told it was all the milk they drink.
Well, okay, but beef, cheese, milk, it's dairy products, right? And we can even see this in the modern day, right? Look at this. These are Kazakh nomads. Look at the size of them compared to the two guys or the three guys in the suits. Look at the scale difference. Right? Grain and...
For people listening, what is that? A 1.5 size?
Yeah, click
almost?
on the picture for us, John, so because there's another one as well. But it's a whole head higher. Right? And this is not like, just, that's just one. No. The archaeological record shows that when the agricultural revolution occurred, people lost like 5 inches of height when they moved into cities and became agriculturalists. They lost a huge amount of height because there was just something that was clearly in the meat-eating diet, where your diet is mostly of protein, that is good for the human body. Don't know what to tell you. I mean, look at these guys. Right? This is something.
Some people say it might be cherry picked in the chat. I have no idea.
She's saying it about the British, which was probably true. It's clearly true about the people in the Netherlands. It was true when the Mongols were invading. It seems to still be true now. If this is cherry picking, there are a lot of cherries. Okay?
There are a lot of proud Dutchmen in the audience.
Yeah, I bet the bloody are. No, have you ever been there?
No, I've never been to the Netherlands.
Well, go, because you're not tall.
Well, I'm not going.
And you'll feel really short.
This is why I'm going to North Korea. I don't think the Netherlands.
I'm average height in England. I am short in Germany and the Netherlands. It's insufferable, right? But on the plus side, right, they're all beam poles. They're all really thin. I got a really low center of gravity. But anyway, so we're talking about like collapsing worldviews, right? That she's saying, well, all the Asians and all the Indians are just really, they're really grain eating and thin and skinny and it's like, well, they weren't, right? But she then goes, well, you're just collapsing this worldview into just like the natives of this. Well, let's hear her.
There's no room in the new colonialism for an indigenous worldview to exist. Instead, it collapses more than 100 Native American nations into one amalgam and attributes a static indigenous worldview that erases those nations that were predominantly vegetarian and lived in urban areas. Historically, the vast majority of the world lived without animal protein as a central part of their diet. The assumption that the best protein comes from corpses is a racist belief, as it erases and replaces indigenous African, Asian, Mesoamerican cultural food practices.
Total tosh. Right, and so I juxtapose that with the sort of the flash in between. So you can see that earlier in the talk, she was like, "Oh, the settler colonials just compressed all of the Native Americans into one tribe, essentially, and just like ignored them." And then she does that to the entire rest of the world.
Just everyone who's not white.
Yeah,
She's like, well, basically, they're all the same.
Yeah, they're just grain eaters all around the world. It's like, no, they weren't. I mean, we've been through like the Kazakhs and we've talked about other people, but like this was an example from the 19th century where the American government was like, right, we need to get rid of all these Native Americans. What's their food source? Oh, buffaloes. And so they end up with massive piles of buffalo skulls because they went on a genocidal rampage to wipe out the buffaloes, right? Because they were a primary source of food for a bunch of the plains-dwelling Native Americans. But she's like, well, the Aztecs, and they had the grain. Yeah, maybe some of them did.
That must have been a great time to be in the U.S. cavalry.
You
must have ate amazing every day.
Oh, man, Americans are tall people. It's insufferable. It's probably the consequence of that. But like,
also, you can tell how American she is when she's, because I had trouble. I said to you yesterday, even following what she was saying there.
Yeah.
She was like, well, the neo-colonialists ignore the indigenous worldview.
Yeah.
I'm like, you're talking in Oxford again. When I hear indigenous, I just think English.
Yeah.
She's like, how are we ignoring the English worldview? That's the one you're criticizing.
Yeah, you're the one complaining about that.
This such American framework she brings to the discussion, quite frankly, makes her difficult to even be understood outside of the United States.
Yes, indeed, which is why people are smirking as she's like rattling off this ideology. That again,
there's all the natives and the indigenous people around her going, what the fuck?
And she's acting like we didn't have a world-spanning empire. Right? Yeah. She's acting like we don't know what foreigners are like. She's acting like we don't know that the Maasai literally just live off cows as well. You know, these guys who can literally jump like 6 feet in the bloody air. You know, oh yeah, they fed exclusively on meat and milk. Weird. And the Central Asians fed exclusively on meat and milk. Weird. And it's just like, yeah, no, you just thought they were all a bunch of grain-eating, rice pickers. And it's like, well, the ones that were, and the ones that weren't. We're not just as simple as she thinks we are. We're not just the ignorant indigenous people of this colony of yours. Sorry. But anyway, let's talk about patriarchy. Let's get to the next one.
Meat eating is also one of the ways gender-based structures of oppression are perpetuated. Men in the West are taunted to renew their man card by eating meat because that's what real men do.
Yeah.
That's the sexual politics of meat, and it reveals how unsettled masculinity really is. Back home, my library card is good for 7 years, but a man card can expire between breakfast and lunch if someone eats a veggie burger. Masculinity, a construct of the gender binary facing constant destabilization, feels always under threat, and eating animals is its protection racket.
You know what? There's a part of it just like, yeah, it is. Yeah. To patrol the borders of masculinity, I have to eat meat.
Yeah, we're going to eat it in front of her, specifically.
I'm going to do it on purpose, specifically. Every time a vegan or a vegetarian eats a vegetable, I'm going to eat an animal. I'm going to eat 2 animals just to offset the difference.
The best part about all of this footage, and I have to say it again, is the people around.
Yeah, I know.
Michaela, the lady in the middle, as you say, the one off to the left, just everyone in the room. You can tell, finally, when an intersectional stands up and talks, everyone, even in the Oxford Union, are just smirking, going, for real.
All the women who are like, well, I enjoyed a steak yesterday too. I must really like that patriarchy. Let's go to the next one.
When a black man was elected as U.S. president, we saw how white this wounded masculinity was. White supremacists weaponized it, eating meat, eggs, and dairy. Images of milk-drinking white men, of platters groaning with meat, and the baiting of liberal men as so-called soy boys are all part of the neo-Nazi messaging.
See, now that is perfect. Like, I love this girl in the middle who just can't keep a straight face at all of it.
Yeah, she's got to be a moderator.
Yeah, exactly. But the fact that she's like, yeah, look at the milk-drinking Nazis who call their opponents soy boys. I was like, whoa, and even Jordan Peterson there laughing. Yes, they're a bunch of soy boys, and look at them. Look at them. We can see them. We can see the physiognomy of them. Look at the bodies. Their little skinny, like bloated stomachs, and it's just like, yeah, I'm not being like that. I'm eating the meat. Damn it. And she's like, I'm Nazi. Oh, shut up.
We're becoming like the Eat the Bugs mirror image. We're just like, just eat the steak.
Yeah, exactly.
Stop being...
Well, there is a meme in right-wing circles. It's like, eat the meat, drink the milk. I'm like, yeah. I was starting to cut back on the amount of milk my son had at night because he's always taking advantage. He's like, it costs, milk's expensive. But I'm like, yeah, I'll probably give him the milk.
It's not the most expensive thing on the planet.
No, I know, but like he's also doing it just to delay his bedtime. Can I have a drink of milk before I go to bed? All right, fine.
Also, if you eat the steak, you can.
No, as long as you finish your steak, son. But I just love the fact the crowd has got no respect for her worldview at this point.
Yeah.
Right? She is just...
This is what I've been dreaming for. You remember for like the last 10 years, we've all been waiting. When is it going to be publicly acceptable that we all, as a group, as a society, just start openly laughing at these stupid losers?
But they couldn't even help themselves, Man, they call them soy boys. Yes, we do.
Again, it's not clapping, as Leo would say. It's laughing.
Yeah,
it's involuntary.
Yeah, exactly.
The entire room involuntarily just started laughing at this woman.
And we may as well keep laughing because it gets more ridiculous. Let's go for the next one.
There'd be no meat eating without the constant forced reproduction by female animals. Yet popular culture is flooded with references to sexy cows, sexy pigs, sexy chickens, sexy fishes, who all just want to have fun.
Sexy M&Ms.
They want to be pregnant and they want to be killed because this feminized sexuality wants to be eaten.
Wait, so her worldview is that the world's a patriarchy, and it's run by men who want to convince women and animals, presumably, that the role
Sexy animals.
The role as a woman is to be sexy, to get pregnant, have a kid, and then be killed and eaten.
No, women do want to be eaten. I know this firsthand. So, I mean, I appreciate she might not know. But this is not an unusual request from a woman, right? But yeah, the sexy animals, maybe in America? Like, what the...
Sexy fish.
What are you talking about?
I mean, I mentioned the sexy M&Ms as a meme, but...
Sure, but that's not an animal, you know. But
sexy cows? Can you actually think? When was the last time you saw a sexy cow outfit or a sexy cow cartoon?
Well, I'm thinking adverts on TV, maybe. Like,
but then it's always cute or...
Yeah, I mean, in America, they did have one where it was like Chick-fil-A and the cows were like, go and get a chicken, right? As in self-preservation. Like the cows are like, eat more chicken, right? And it was Chick-fil-A. Okay, fine, but that's not sexy.
Were the chickens sexy?
No, the chickens weren't, there weren't any chickens on the advert. It was just cows on the advert. But it's like, where was an advert where I saw a sexy fish? What are you talking about?
I don't know. What is it, Mr. Cod? Like, you've got a marketing idea, bro.
Just like, what is she going on about? Like,
bring out Mrs. Cod.
I mean, I have to watch TV occasionally. I don't see any sexy animals on the TV, but then maybe that's just me.
It's people being like, well, you know, cow bikinis, maybe.
So let's just finish with
clownfish are sexy. Change my no.
Let's just end with the real problem.
So, is our global outcome to be determined by people afraid to change who are going to hold on to some old conceived notion of power?
Yes.
Change may be hard, but not changing is harder. Tonight, you're being asked to vote on whether you accept this new colonialism or not. Our menu choices don't stay on the plate. And I heard all your laughter. I know some of these must be new ideas, or you think they're fringe or whatever. Our whiteness is part of the problem of meat eating. It really is. So
double down. I heard you all laughing, but whiteness is the problem.
Could you hear the audience again? They're laughing.
Yeah, exactly. And what she's saying is being English is the problem. And you come to England and go, yeah, so it's bad that you're English. Like, well, we're supposed to be.
Again, with the language barriers, like that, her language can make sense to an American audience. When she's saying that to an English audience, please vote against this neo-colonialism. Yes, sod off back to Yankee Land. I mean, that's all I'm hearing.
Yeah, same. But yeah, no, I really enjoyed that debate. And yeah, not much more to say. If you like that segment from the podcast The Lotus Eaters, you can go to lotuseaters.com and subscribe to support us. And you also get access to our premium live shows that we do there. So these are just basically like live streams where we talk about things that may be a little bit spicy for YouTube and other platforms in their current state. In this particular one, we were talking about how the NHS is costing us the empire. And in one that will be up by the time you watch this, we'll be talking about the man-made horrors beyond our comprehension. And so once you've watched those, you can always go on to getter.com and at Josh_firm to tell him that you're enjoying his based takes and reactions that follow from this next podcast. Thanks very much. We'll see you next time.